All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another HST student highlight. Maurice, how about you just introduce yourself a bit and we'll get going.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Maurice Charles, and I live in the city of Chicago. I'm a part of the Chicago Church of Christ, and I have been married for 9 years now. I have one child who is 3. His name is Lucas, and having a blast. All the COVID and quarantine things have created a situation where I'm with my son 6 or 7 hours every morning, just kind of spending time while mom is out doing other things. So, um, love the family, love the ministry. I've been working in the ministry since the fall of 2010, specifically with campus ministry, and yeah, love it. And again, with COVID, everything's different, but we got a great group of student leaders alongside us who are helpful in making the experience meaningful. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of the basics.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. How do you think your students are doing with COVID and responding to being virtual for classes?
Yeah, I think there's an array of different situations, but I can say from talking with folks and hearing the reports of how people are doing, I think everyone feels a little bit disoriented, or some feel a lot disoriented.
Mm.
School is for some of them the motivation's already difficult anyway. I think with the ability to kind of do more than one thing at a time, to multitask while on school and not be in trouble or have the kid behind you see that you're watching a soccer game or something like that. I think some of them are struggling with that freedom, but I think others of them are grateful that they get to be in the comfort of their home and not spend the time commuting in the city and encountering the weird things that happen on the way to school. So there's a mixture, but I think overall folks are feeling disoriented.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I think I'm sure a blessing that you're able to be in that space and bring God into the conversation and all that. That's really good. I think that's a good reminder for our HST students to not we have freedom being virtual, but that's real,
Hilarious.
that's real funny. Okay, so I would love to hear. So you're doing ministry in Chicago, and that's kind of been your ministry experience. So how did you get connected with Harding University and Harding School of Theology? What's been your journey to taking courses here at HST?
Yeah, so as you said, I've been in the campus ministry. I was converted in 2008 from a Catholic background, and became a Bible believing disciple of Jesus. And after I graduated a couple years later, an opportunity was there to go into the ministry. And in the church where I am, there's a group of 4 or 5 guys who are now in their mid 50s who attended Harding. I guess in the middle of the first decade of this millennium. And they all studied various things. There were 2 of them that went the master's in divinity route. 2 of them went the MACM route, and I think that's the 4 of them. And so they did that, and after being in the ministry a couple of years, in 2014, an opportunity came up to do sort of a distance learning program with Harding, with HST. And a cool arrangement was kind of put together where you guys sent a professor up to us 3 times in a semester, and we would meet together. A number of people from around the Midwest heard about it, and we all came together. Some classes were up to, maybe 25 full-time students, and then maybe even 10 to 15 auditors would be in the background. So sort of a lively introduction into graduate studies. And that was there was a certificate of spiritual leadership that HST had put together. After we completed that, an opportunity was given to pursue a master's, and I've been blessed, extremely lucky to have received financial support to do this program. And so I've been in the program since 2014, technically. It took us maybe 2 or 3 years to finish up the certificate. And since then, I've been taking online Zoom courses, and then also I've done my few intensives. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been to Memphis and got to see the campus, and it's great. And the library, love the library.
That's right.
It's a highlight.
Okay.
It's a highlight. And so I'm actually in my last semester. I'm taking 2 classes. I'm taking an Isaiah class with Dr. Hawley, and I'm taking the Stone Campbell history course with Dr. Berryhill.
Mm,
And it's great. It's been great. So I'll be finishing with an MACM, and looking forward to continuing to utilize all that's been taught to me, because it's all very theologically, intense, but very practical in its ministry application.
mm. That's awesome. I had not heard about them sending professors up, and that's a really cool story that I had not was aware of that. That's really cool, and that's
Yeah.
also good because I'm trying to convince Matt Carter if I get enough like little sound bites that he can promote, he'll try to see if he'll buy me free lunches or something if I get enough promotional stuff for him. That's funny.
There you go.
Uh, that is really cool. Have you had, this isn't on our little list of questions, but have you had maybe 1 or 2 classes that stand out as like really memorable or impacting in the way you think or the way that you learn as a student?
Yeah. So 2 of them come to mind. Now there's more than 2 I could list, but I think the class on spiritual leadership with Dr. Hufford
Mm-hmm.
was it was amazing. It was eye-opening. I think for me, the main thing that was exciting about it was being able to see, or at least attempt to see, how God's been at work in my life to lead me toward something. The whole idea of having a bent in life, and how life experiences, of course you can overdo it and try to intertwine everything, but that there are very clear paths that God has created um, for our lives to go down, and those experiences influence who we are, and his plan for us to use us in very unique ways. And so I don't, again, that class was a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I still feel like I'm figuring out some of what exactly God's leading me toward and what events are influential in that. But to look at my life and my walk with God and my ministry through that lens, that was just mind blowing to me. And to see all the connections was amazing. So I loved that class. And then really enjoyed a class that I took with Dr. Gupton. I think it was a congregational leadership class. I don't remember the exact title, but we read books like Overcoming the Dark Side of Leadership.
Gotcha.
And I don't remember the name of it. I think it was congregational leadership, but just this idea that who you are, it matters to your life and to your leadership and to your congregation, and all of the strengths that we have. I dare say all of them come with flat sides. And so to be aware of who you are and to not feel bad about your flat sides, but to be aware of them and thank God for his grace in those areas. Again, I think it was just it's stuck with me. And I believe those things will stick with me for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear. I think both of those things you mentioned are so important, especially right now during COVID. Just trying to find where God is working in your life right now and the chaos of everything. And then also just being really aware of his grace where we might fall short and where we need him. That's amazing. That's great. So this is great lead into the next question. During COVID, and maybe just from your experience in ministry, what have been habits or practices that have kept you spiritually healthy and attuned with God?
Yeah, I think I appreciate the question. I think it's been challenging. Old man's running to the potty. I think it's been challenging I was very quick to quarantine back in February. And so being sort of an early adopter in my household, for the better part of 7 months, 8 months, I've been inside. And so I'm a people person. I played soccer all my life, played in college. Being outside and playing sports is meaningful to me. And so I think some things have been stripped away by the circumstance that have left me really considering, like, what does it mean to find joy and contentment in every scenario that we find ourselves in. And so I think with COVID happening and then all of the racial tension that's surfacing, I think it's been sort of an incubator for me. And again, I said, my parents are immigrants, right? And so it's not just the race stuff, it's not just COVID, but then there's the whole immigration conversation that's been going on for a long time. I just feel like it's been an incubator for me to really take time to think through my life and how I feel, and also consider how other people feel. And so in this time, I think one thing that's been helpful is to practice compassion, or learning compassion. There's a proverb early on that says, above all else, seek understanding. And I think it means seek understanding about God and the divine, but I also think it means to seek understanding in general, just about life and people. And I think that this has been a time where if I'm not careful, living in the city that I live in, being who I am and where I come from, it'd be easy to not really care to understand. I think one thing that's really been helpful to me in this time to be as healthy as I can be, or as healthy as I want to be healthy, is to just try to understand as much as I can about people, their life, their experience, and even understand what God's purposes might be in this time. And I think another aspect that's been helpful is to be able to have a lot of different people to talk to who are, some of them are like me on various classifications, but also to have people who are not like me, who are in the church, able to kind of share their Christian perspective. It's been very helpful. I've been on the phone a lot. I've been on Zoom a lot. Been able to pray for people or request prayers from others. And so I think the interconnectedness, those sort of one another relationships that scriptures talk about, those have also been very helpful to me in this time of COVID.
Yeah, I think, man, that was spot on. That was so good. And I think, just like you're saying, practice of compassion and kind of what that means. And I think you're right. It takes seeking understanding of not only God, but also of people and people's backgrounds, and why we think the way that we think, and why we believe what we believe. And I think it's a journey of compassion, and part of that is for sure getting to know people. Wow, that's so good. Man,
Yeah.
I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so man, this has been really insightful. We're gonna get to and this is kind of the goofier part of the interview. I'm gonna go through a speed round of questions, and just whatever comes first to mind, answer it, and we'll blast through these. Okay, first question: besides Jesus, who from the Bible would you want to eat dinner with?
Joseph from the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, give me one short sentence why.
I mean, just being younger than everybody and having such a weight on his shoulders. I feel like I grew up younger than I was accelerated in school, and I think it always resonated with me, his ability to see God through it all.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, what has been a favorite book that you've read this past year?
In the Bible or outside of the Bible?
Outside of the Bible.
Oh man, there's a lot of books I've been reading. Honestly, I guess I have to say it this way: I am grateful for some podcasts that I've been listening to,
Okay.
which has taken some of the place of my book reading outside of academics. So I've been enjoying the Bema podcast by Marty Solomon.
Okay.
Check it out, BEMA podcast by Marty Solomon. He comes from a Restoration Church background, but he's a Jewish guy he's a Jewish believing Christian.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with like Alabama football or anything?
Yeah, nope.
Okay, that's interesting. That's our first podcast recommendation. Okay, if you could describe, or if you had to describe the year 2020 in one word, what would that word be?
Eye-opening. It's 2 words.
We'll let it pass. That's great. That's interesting. What is your favorite movie?
I love The Matrix.
Yeah. Okay, last question. What do you love most about the city that you live in?
I love the diversity of diversity. Like there's so much that you can learn about, try about, and experience.
That's awesome. Great. Well, you passed. Those are all our speed round questions. You did good. Man, Maurice, this has been great, very insightful and encouraging for me. I hope that you're blessed in your ministry and with your family and your little boy there in the background.
Yeah.
This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Reed. And I feel honored that you would even ask to take 15, 20 minutes and talk with me and learn about my life. So thanks for
No,
being
man, this is, it's just an idea that we threw out there, and I've been so blessed by it, just to get to know students I, might see as like a little box on the screen, but then actually get to know and hear their story. So, man, this has
Right.
been great. It's good to see you.
Amen. All right, dude. Have a great day.
See you.